I see the.
Hello, my name is Madeline Bowman, and this next piece is called Bullets Don't Know the Difference. It's based on interviews from Black veterans who served in both World War II and the Vietnam War. And Jacob Lawrence himself served in World War II in one of the first integrated units. So I thought it was important to shine light on the racism that many Black servicemen faced overseas and the psychological effects of war. So please enjoy.
I got drafted in 1942. I waded ashore on Normandy beachhead on my 22nd birthday. I'll never forget it. Now, that's important because I'll tell you what. When we arrived on Normandy beachhead, the person in charge of supplies and things of that sort didn't know anything about us, didn't know anything about our being there or whatnot.
I was in the armed forces overseas during World War II. Now, I was in a place called Liege, Belgium. We were right under, I can't think of the address, the river. The most frightening time to me during my time in the service overseas was the Battle of the Bulge. That was frightening. Because originally, you know what? The Germans were not taking any prisoners.
Places where we lived, the bombings got terrible. You would hear bombs falling, late at night, literally devastating experience. Because, you wouldn't know if your building would be next.
That Emperor of Japan was meeting with President Roosevelt, and all that time he knew that they planned to bomb Pearl Harbor. What made us so mad, the United States was selling all scrap iron to Japan.
And then in the Philippines, we worked on roads, airstrips, and things of that kind of stuff. And we would hear a lot of sirens out of the woods at night. And the Soviets would know where we were going on. It was still firing. And then they dropped the first atomic bomb on Japan, and then they dropped the second atomic bomb on Japan. And right then we knew, when they dropped the second bomb, a few days after that, we knew we had to occupy Japan.
All the scrap iron you see loaded on them cars, going north, shipping it over to Japan, selling it to the Japanese, and they making the bomb. Because we wasn't looking to go in the war when Japan, all they had to do was keep on coming, because the United States didn't have nothing. They didn't have nothing.
I was with the first troops to move in to occupy Japan. I didn't know Japan was so lovely. It was quite an experience.
About 4 months before I got out, I started having a crawling sensation in my head.
There was no treatment.
The only thing that we got coming back was having our bags searched to make sure we weren't bringing back drugs or ammo.
When I was in Japan, it first started with me having nightmares and headaches, and they continued, and they put me on medication. Of course, no medication helped those nightmares.
But let me know a little bit in advance. That's the part I need to kick in.
There was no mental health treatment. There was nothing for us. Just go back and assimilate. We were really happy. Our time was up. I'm done. I'm going home. Had tears in my eyes. Thank God it's about time. I knelt down and I kissed the ground. So yeah, a lot of people didn't make it back. They didn't have a chance to kiss the ground, just be back on their own turf.
But anything I say was segregated back in those days was rough, just because you had so many white people who would take full advantage of that of being superior to the other race.
I do know that sometimes the bus driver would tell you to go all the way to the back, and there would be no seats. That's why Rosa Parks, well, she wasn't going to go for that. And in the city buses and everything else.
Some of them was just as nice as can be. No, it wasn't all bad.
And let me tell you about the army I served in, the military. When we were in Virginia, they had prisoners of war. They rode those buses and sat where they wanted. They went to the theaters free.
Now, that was true. I risked my life to come back to a society that did not treat me the same as others. I was treated even less than the prisoners of war.
And when we trained under some terrible conditions there, being a segregated army, whenever we were going past to the city, the nearest one was Louisiana. When it came time to catch the bus or come back from Reveille, all black soldiers had to step aside and lure while they lured up all the white at the other end. Just had to wait. And oftentimes, we were late getting back to camp. Yes, because of those policies.
We always tried to get our dead out. We had about, I'd say maybe 7 or 8 people that got ambushed, that got killed.
Yeah.
And we had to load them up, always use the term. We had to load them up like hogs. We had to stack them on top of each other, get our people.
There was a discrepancy in what the Constitution of the United States was saying. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, and all that business in the Constitution, what it said. And me fighting for the United States, and I had to pledge allegiance to that flag, and all of that. And then I was treated inhumanely. That prepared me because it gave me an insight to when I wanted to dig further and to try to change what was happening to me, what was happening in society to other black males in this community. Because I found out that this government, it was the law. And if you were to walk into a restaurant or walk into a white restroom, I would be breaking that law.
They would let the whites always go to town tonight and restrict the blacks going to the post. Tomorrow night, they would let the blacks go and restrict the whites in places over there. It was terrible.
But we always got the worst of every goddamn thing in terms of treatment, in terms of assignments.
Yeah, often the commanding officer would be some damn racist from the South someplace.
We had all-white commission and non-commissioned officers who were going to this reception where we would go get our clothes and different things, and they ran us. We didn't walk. We had to run to the mess hall, everything on double time. Well, I guess it was something to do with training, getting more shape, you know? But the harsh talk was so nasty, you know? Some of them would call us Negroes, while some were nice about it.
Coming on down through Georgetown, South Carolina, being a little town, we stopped in there to get supplies. Well, before the bus driver made me get off the seat with this girl, and the white soldier and sailor made me sit back down. They forced me, pushed me down, and let me know that they were there with me. And they told that driver, you better go up there and drive the bus. Said she told him to sit down there. We're right here. He can't do anything to her. Said we all in this war together.
We had to pay, and we had to sit where they told us to sit. And Jackie Robinson, you know, he got into something about that.
Yeah, some of them were nice, but I didn't know a lieutenant from nobody else back in those days. And I had written my brother back. I said, man, don't volunteer and come to this army. But he just had to volunteer.
I had to ride in the back of the bus, even when we had the bus. So the segregation situation, and I couldn't figure out that I went overseas, risked my life to come back to a society that did not treat me the same as others.
We were in the same uniform, representing and defending the same country. That was terrible.
They said the World War II veterans started it. But we had had enough because them bullets didn't know the difference. They didn't know if we were black, white, and didn't care. And I got shot at just like everybody else.